In our scenario, we have a database with two tables, contacts and to-do. So if I select from the to-do table, select asterisk from to-do, the table has three columns, ID, tasks, and completed. We've already populated the table with a set of records, and we want to extract the data from this table and expose it over a REST API. The first step is to create a new integration, and then select the connection that starts the integration as an API provider. If we already had a Swagger API definition, we could provide that here, or we could get it directly from an online URL. In this case, I'm going to create it from scratch. Right now we are in the API designer, and this is just like editing API documentation. We can define the data types that the API is going to expose. This is as simple as providing some sample data. So if you remember our to-do table, we are going to map its columns here. We will have a task ID, that's numeric, task name, which is string, and task completed, which is again numeric. We can optionally choose to create REST operations. This will create all the REST operations to manipulate the data type, which we just created. Once we save, we'll find that our path is already created. The /tasks path, and the get operation, which retrieves the list of tasks, is there. This is the response. And the path with the task ID parameter and its relevant get operation to retrieve a specific task is also created. We will now save our API and give it a name. At this point, our design is complete and we are ready to start implementing our integration route. Now we need to tell Fuse, once we hit the get task operation, what will be the integration flow. So we will click on the create flow, which will bring us to the integration flow editor. We can have a series of steps that comprise our implementation of this API. Let's click here to add a step and choose the database connection. We can either invoke a SQL statement or a stored procedure. In our demo, we will invoke a simple SQL statement. So select data from the to-do table. And what's left now is the mapping or the translation between the results from the SQL statement and the task data object that we created when we designed our REST API. Let's add one more step in our integration flow and select the data mapper. We can now use the visual data mapper that allows us to map from SQL results to the REST response. So just by drag and drop, ID to task ID, task to task name, completed to task completed. As you can see to the far right, the details of the mapping are provided, and you could define more complex mapping if you wanted, using operations like concatenate or even regular expressions. Once done, we can save our integration flow and then go ahead and publish that flow. What's happening now is that Fuse is assembling all the dependencies that we need to build our data service. It will spin up a source to image build within OpenShift and actually package the integration flow logic as a native containerized service within OpenShift, and then deploy that on OpenShift in a complete self-service fashion. So even though we're dealing with a low-code environment, we're getting all the benefits around scalability, resilience, and all the benefits of container-native applications underneath the covers. For every deployed integration service, we have a set of operations, so you can view, edit, delete, or even configure the CI/CD for this integration service. We can see now that the deployment is happening. So if we switch to the OpenShift console, we can see that the container image is built, a pod is running, and a service is created to accept internal traffic, and even a route is created to expose my service. So if we click on that route, we can test our get tasks operation. So we enter the path / tasks, and there we go. We have retrieved all the tasks in the to-do table. So through this quick demo, we have illustrated how simple it is to create an integration service through a citizen integration experience where we didn't have to write any code to design, implement, build, or deploy our integration service.